by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is All Clues Are Pointing To. And who's that? America, Babylon the Great. And this lesson comes to the inspiration of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai through a video that I was watching earlier. Elder Pastor did, where he put a link in the description box to another video dealing with Russia and dealing with this arms race and things that are going on with this so-called Space Force and all of that. Now, the lesson is not so much built around the arms race and dealing with, space in general, but it's more so something that was said around the 1 minute 30-second mark of the video, where the woman said that Russia has been petitioning for the last 10 years to the UN to pretty much do something to stop this from becoming an arms race for space. And what stuck out to me was pretty much the UN, which the UN is an acronym for United Nations. And the United Nations has their main headquarters here in America, namely on the soils of the soils of New York. The soils of New York, which was a land that was purchased by the Rockefellers. Now they're saying that that's international land that was donated by the Rockefellers to set up the UN building on the United Nations, meaning all nations joined together, which pretty much the United Nations was a playoff of another organization prior to them called the League of Nations, which goes back to the early 1900s, and then you had another one back in the 1800s, which I forgot the name of. And pretty much what they've been trying to establish is they've been trying to establish a new world order. But the point of the lesson being that America is Babylon the Great through many different prophecies, scriptural prophecies, and also just things in general that point in the direction of the prophecies of the scriptures. Now, I got a couple of articles I want to go to, just a couple of precepts that I jotted down through the Spirit, and Lord's will, it'll be an edifying lesson. And if any other precepts come to mind, or if I see any brothers' precepts on the comment board that could be used for the lesson, we'll use it. I want to start off real quick with reading this one thing, because I typed in United Nations in Google, and this one particular thing that came up under www.un.org. Like, I just typed in United Nations, they gave me a bunch of articles. The one that came up which says United Nations under un.org, it says here, as the world's only truly universal global organization, the United Nations has become the foremost forum to address issues that transcend national boundaries, and then it cuts off. But the point of it all being the only truly universal global organization, which is the UN. Now they have buildings or other headquarters or places where they are set up in other parts of the world, but their main headquarters is here in America. This is where they really meet, to have all of those debates and talks about world issues, and how to best come to a conclusion, and what is going to be done about so and so and this and that, and about hunger, and just a bunch of bullshit basically that they put on. But basically, what it really is set up to be is a one world government, a one world order. Now, we read about the word universal. The word universal means to turn into one. And this is what the scripture's been speaking about for the longest. Then, also, on the land that the United Nations building is set up, they have a building that's set up as their headquarters, known as a monolith. Now, the word monolith, the word mono is one, M-O-N-O, and then lith comes from the Greek word lithos, which means stone. So one stone. Why? Because they're trying to bring in the one world order. You have the word universal. Uni is one, versal is to turn. So universal is to turn into one. And that's what they've been trying to establish the whole time. And they're pushing forward for this agenda. So it says monolith, a single great stone, often in the form of a column or obelisk. And you know what an obelisk is. Just look at so-called Cleopatra's Needle. You know, those different, the one in at the Vatican in St. Peter's Square. Those are all obelisks, which is one stone. And that's pretty much what the United Nations building is. So it's no coincidence that the United Nations building is set up here in America, namely New York. Now, I'm going to get one more article and then we're going to get to some precepts. This is actually United Nations under Wikipedia. It says the United Nations is an intergovernmental organization that aims to maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relations among nations, achieve international cooperation, and be a center for harmonizing the action of nations. It is the largest, most familiar, most internationally represented, and most powerful intergovernmental organization in the world. The UN is headquartered on international territory in New York City, with its other main offices in Geneva, Nairobi, Vienna, and The Hague. But the main headquarters is where? In America. It doesn't matter if they call it an international lands or territory, it's still on the soils of America. And in the pretty much the capital of America, which is New York, Excelsior, which means elevated, right? I'm going to go to history. I'm going to read a little bit of this, and then, like I said, we're going to get to the precepts. Because the main thing to remember is that the UN, the League of Nations, the one before that, Esau in general, their whole agenda is to push forward a new world order, a one world government, a one world establishment, where all nations will become together as one. And as we've said before, you know, the scriptures don't change. You know, a lot of times we go to the same scriptures over and over and over again because they don't change. And it conveys the same message, you know. So it says history, background. In the century prior to the UN's creation, several international organizations such as the International Committee of the Red Cross were formed to ensure protection and assistance for victims of armed conflict and strife. In 1914, a political assassination in Sarajevo set off a chain of events that led to the outbreak of World War I, as more and more young men, which that's just a cover story, more and more young men were sent down into the trenches. Influential voices in Britain and the United States began calling for the establishment of a permanent international body to maintain peace in the post-war world. All right, and I'm going to leave it at that, because the scripture said, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. So, just building off of the United Nations building alone, and how here it is, you have sovereign countries like Russia, you know, calling on the UN to put a halt and put something in place to stop this so-called arms race, you know, which shows you that the power of the world is run from the United Nations, which is established on American soil, which America is that head country that rules over all these nations. And that's why they come here to officiate their business. They don't not only come here to make money, to have a good time, but they also come here to officiate world business. That's why you had at one time, this is ancient history now, at one time you had something known as the World Trade Center, which were two towers that was smack dab on the west. I believe they were situated on the west of the island of Manhattan. And that's where the world trade of the whole entire world was going through. Every business transaction that happened around the world was going through there. So this place, America, is Babylon the Great. You don't see any UN buildings or any world leaders gathering anywhere else but here in America. They don't gather over there in the Vatican. You have individuals that say that the Vatican is the Babylon the Great. You don't see them gathering there. You see them gathering here in America, in particular, New York City. You go and figure. Now, let's go to the book of Revelation chapter 17. I'm going to start at the first verse. The point is the second verse. It says, "And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." And this great whore that sitteth upon many waters, the many waters, as we've read to you before in the 15th verse, "And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." And America is known as the great melting pot. You know, you have Ellis Island in New York, where all of the immigrants will come through and be registered, you know, before they will set foot on the mainland. America is that great melting pot. You have all nations here, all type of religions, all type of food, all type of philosophies, and you know, anything you want to do or want to be is here in America. So this is that great melting pot. And the great whore, a whore is what? You have a whore, which is a woman that sells a body, but you have a great whore, which also would be known as what? A great whore would be known as a madam or a mistress. So now why is she a great whore or a madam or a mistress? Because she has the experiences that other hoes don't. You know? And through those experiences is how she's able to manipulate the world as we know it today. This is Nahum chapter 3 verse 4. Now keep in mind, this was at one time was dealing with Nineveh, but Nineveh is also a code name for America today. All right, this is Nahum 3. I started at 1. "Woe to the bloody city, it is full of lies and robbery, the prey departeth not." And we're still in the hands of Esau. This place is full of robbery. It's full of blood. It has not been cleansed, because the people that shed the blood, their blood has not been shed, as it states in the law. That's the only way a land can be cleansed of his blood. Right? Now we jump down to the 4th verse. It says, "Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot." And who is the well-favored harlot? America. Matter of fact, let's look up that word well-favored and let's see what that says. I wish I would have. Let me just fire this up. Hopefully it's still got some battery life to it. Let's let that fire up. But let me get this one here for the time being. Let's go to the Strong's Concordance. Let's go to Nahum. Let's go to the 3rd chapter, the 4th verse. And let's look up the word well-favored. The word well-favored is khan, which means graciousness, kindness, favor, objectively beauty. And this word beauty here brings to mind how the Apostle John was looking at the woman with great admiration. And the angel had to kind of snap at him, you know, because he was looking at her with great admiration. Why? Because of her beauty. It says favor, grace, gracious, pleasant, precious, well-favored. Well-favored, pleasant, you know. And this place, even that song American Woman by, I believe that's the Guess Who, you know, they even had a song called American Woman. right? And in that song, American Woman, um, they said, pretty much they were speaking about America and how she has them glimmering lights, and then flashing lights, and she dazzles people, with her beauty, with her lights, so on and so forth. So even in songs, you have people alluding to America as being this great whore or this woman that allures people. Don't come knocking around my door. I don't want to see your face no more. Color lights may hypnotize, sparkle someone else's eyes. Those are you brothers that have read those lyrics before. You know what was being said there. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm trying to get that again. I'm trying to see if there's a little bit more here. I'm trying to make this a little brighter, but freaking thing ain't allowing me to do anything. There we go. All right, let's go to the word well favored again. Let's see what this one says. There's actually two Tawab, which is good, pleasant. And the other one is Khan, which we just read. Favor, grace, elegance, favor, acceptance. Remember, this place is elegant. When you read Revelation the 17th chapter, it conveys that message, of this elegant, well-dressed, good-smelling hoe that's very deceptive. And before you know that you're caught into a trap, by the time you figure it out, it's too late. So that's why it says back in Nahum 3 and 4, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft. Now, a mistress is a feminine way of saying master. Why? Because they have mastered. Okay, got you. Hold up 1 second.
I've been homeless for 6 months. You know how long $10 will last me, brother?
All right, so let's get back to Nahum. Nahum chapter 3, verse 4. Let's read that again. It says, because of the multitude. See, multitude means what? Many. Of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. So America is spread thin. They're pushing their philosophy, mainly that democracy, through the four corners of the earth. And all nations have bought into it. That's why all nations are gathered to this place. They're not buying into the Roman Catholic Church philosophy and doctrine. They're not looking into the any other place around the world to latch on, to their philosophies and ways of life. It's here in America. All nations are coming to this place to latch on to this place, and this is the only place on the planet that has influence in every other country around the world. Every other country wants to be like America, right? So it says, the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft, and this place is full of witchcraft. That's why you have something known as smoke and mirrors, sleight of hand. The way that they use the media to manipulate the minds of people to get them to do what they want them to do. There's all kind of information dealing with this whole baby sword thing that they got going on out there, but you can't speak about it because they'll clip you, even though their own sources are the ones bringing it out. All right, so that's all a part of that witchcraft, and they're using celebrities to push it. They're using, governors and mayors, and well-known figures of the so-called community you know, to push that. So it says, the mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredom, see, and families through her witchcraft, because it's all about pushing that lie, that American lie, that American democracy, you know. And this is why you have the capital or the headquarters building of all the nations of the world here on American soils, which they call international territory or whatever they called it, but it's still on the soils of America. It's still on the soils of the capital of America, which is New York, and especially Manhattan. You see? So this place is beyond a doubt Babylon the Great. And as the title of it is called, all clues are pointing to. And all clues are pointing to America being Babylon the Great. All right, now let's go back to Revelation 17 and let's read that again. And there came one of the seven angels which has the seven vials and talked with me, saying, come unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Which we read that the many waters are peoples and nations and multitudes and tongues. But now, what is this? The great whore, which is a woman. This is the 18th verse of the same chapter. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So America is the one that's reigning over the kings of the whole planet Earth. Right? So like, I'm just trying to see if there's any saying there's a precept there. Let me just see what this says real quick. No, that's not. That doesn't go with that. All right, and I'm pretty sure there's some precepts in Jeremiah 50 and Jeremiah 51, which I didn't get a chance to look at. But now let's read the second verse. This is the point. The point of the lesson is here in the second verse. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. So when you see these individuals at the UN building, these are representatives, you know, premiers, you know, like leaders, world leaders that actually come to America to sit up in these different meetings to officiate the so-called business of their country. But pretty much all they're doing is just getting together to establish this so-called New World Order, because they plan on so-called bringing peace. This is why there's so much turmoil going on the earth that these devils are creating to a certain degree. Uproars of the people, wars, you know, religious wars and religious battles and all that. The reason why they're doing that is because they want to get the people so tired of all this mess that eventually they would opt, you know, for world peace, which that world peace is going to lead to their losing of their liberties, so to speak. Because you don't have freedom, you have liberty, but you're going to lose that too. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Yeah, because that's eventually what they plan on bringing. That's why the scriptures say that when they're about to fill their belly, then the Lord is going to pour his wrath upon them. Because at the point where they say, okay, now we got the New World Order, you know, it's here, you know, it's thriving, it's moving, you know, when they're about to just sit back and just take that breath, like, phew, all this hard work finally, you know, we got it. That's when the Lord's going to take them out. All right, so let's go back to Revelation 17:2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And the kings of the earth are not committing fornication with the Vatican. All right, that is not Babylon the Great, although that is the false prophet in the book of Revelation. And although they are helping to push this agenda, that's not Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great is America. Because all nations are not going to the Vatican to meet over there to get world to fix their so-called world issues. All people of the earth are not going to the Vatican over there in Rome to sell their wares and get rich off of them. If the Vatican was to be destroyed, all nations of the world would not be mourning because no one would buy their merchandise anymore. So just on those 2 points alone, we know that the Roman Catholic Church is not Babylon the Great, and the other nations are not committing whoredom with her. In other words, they're not because not every nation out there is Roman Catholic. You have Roman Catholics among the people, but not every nation out there is Roman Catholic. You see? But every nation out there wants to be like America. You have American franchises all throughout those different countries. You have the American democracy, which is the main doctrine throughout all these different nations. So come on, man, stop playing games. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of fornication. Yeah, because everybody wants to be like America. Everywhere you turn the TV, now you turn the TV on, no matter where you go, all these women around the world want to do what? They want to twerk, you know? You want to have your homosexual parades. You know, people want that democracy there. You know, everything is centered around the image of the beast, which is from America, beginning with democracy. All right. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. Now, this scarlet-colored beast is a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, which is a representation of all of those different so-called European empires that ruled with their allies. And America is a part of that, because America is the 8th head, as you read down in the chapter. It says full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Yeah, because this place, the reason why it says that this woman was sitting on them, because they're the ones that carry her. But although they're the ones that carrying her, she's the one calling the shots. And when you look at anything that goes down, as far as NATO is concerned, because America's a part of NATO, anything that goes down as far as NATO is concerned and any decision making, guess what? If the majority want to go against what America does, America, their plans are what's going to stand. And this is why the scriptures say that they're going to hate this whore, you know. And then in Daniel it said because of the stout look that they have, because they're supposed to be partners, and they're supposed to make decisions together. But whatever America says, that's what goes. And that's why a lot of these nations, including your own allies, are going to turn around and destroy you. All right. So now let's jump from there. Let's jump to the 18th verse. Let's jump down to the 18th verse, which we just read, but let's read it again. Is it the 18th verse? Let's see. I thought there was another verse in here. All right, well, let's read that again and then we'll move on. I may come back to this. I said, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right, now let's go to Revelation 18, which is the next chapter over, and we're just going to hit the point. Let's go to the 18th verse. I mean, the 3rd verse. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And that's the point. This is why Russia is calling on the UN, which is on American soil, to do something about stopping this so-called arms race in space. So now, why isn't the headquarters of the UN building in Russia or China? or Africa, or any other nation on the planet, South America. Why America? Why here on the soils of America? Because this is Babylon the Great, man. That's why. This is the place that rules over all the kings of the earth. And that's why you have to come through America in order to, be successful. And this is why a lot of these nations now are opting out of the US dollar so that they can run, business among themselves using their own currency so that they won't be hit with sanctions from this place. And this is happening now, but for a long time, all nations were down with this place. But the reason why they opting out now is because America is on a downward spiral, and it's time for her to be judged. So eventually, all nations are going to pull away from this hole. It tells you that in other precepts too. So it says, it says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And this is not talking about any other nation but America. The nations are not going to the Vatican, they're not going to the Vatican to get rich. I hate to disappoint you guys, bro. But that is the truth. So I just want to look up this word delicacies. See what it says for delicacies. Strenos, excessive strength, which long to break forth, over strength. Then it goes on to say luxury, eager desire. See, that's that luxury, those delicacies. These nations are looking at America like salivating because they see the potential of them being able to make bank, so to speak. In order to keep their country and their society afloat. And they know they have to do certain deals with this place in order for them to keep that status. But now that these nations have amassed a good amount of wealth in their country, now they're opting out of the dollar. This is on all levels is showing that America is going down, man. And even your own allies are going to turn against you. Now let's jump from there to the 9th verse. And read a couple more precepts and probably just close the lesson because, the point is already made. Verse 9. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and live deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Yeah, because that's going to be the ultimate goal. And guess what? Some of your own allies, your own European allies, are going to turn against you. Because this is to fulfill the Lord's will. Matter of fact, let's go to that. But before we go there, let me go to Isaiah 14, and then we'll probably close out with Revelation 17. Isaiah chapter 14. I got one main verse, but I'm going to see if I could jump up a little bit above that. All right, Isaiah chapter 14. And the whole chapter is good, but I'm going to start at the 9th verse. It says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. Now there's a precept there. Let me see what the precept says for hell. It says, or the grave. Just you know that the word hell is not a place where you go to burn forever. The word hell from the Hebrew word sha'awal or sha'al, from the Greek word Hades, means the grave. It's not talking about some place where you go and burn forever. Hades, sha'al or sha'awal, is the grave. It was translated as hell, but the word should have been grave. As when you read in the precept, it tells you, or the grave. So it says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. In other words, you're going to go from your lofty state, from your heavenly state, down to a pauper state. A pauper state or a poverty state is hell. When you have no rights, when you are downtrodden, when you have to serve somebody as a slave, you are in hell because you're at the will of the master over you. And you don't know what type of master that they are. And Esau, for the most part, was a real bastard. That's hell, man. So you're going to go from a lofty, kingly position of a heavenly state down to a hellified slave state. So the grave or your demise is awaiting you. You know, up ahead, man. The Twilight Zone. And you're gonna be in a it's gonna seem like the Twilight Zone for a period of 1,000 years. You know? It says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee. Who are the dead? The dead are these other nations. At one point they had no say-so because America had the power. But now that they're on the come up, so to speak, they're taking a taunting proverb against you. You know? Cursing you out, telling you to get the hell out their land. After they're done, you know, fed off of the garbage you gave them. But now that they're self-sufficient and they don't need you anymore, they want you out. Because you're nothing but a destroyer, man. You're nothing but a destroyer. All you do is destroy. You take and destroy. You don't build, you know? You don't help. All you do is help yourself. And the building that you do is for yourself. It says, it hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. Yeah, because now the kings of the nations are mad. And now that they are self-sufficient and they don't need you anymore, now they're going to want to seek vengeance. All that humble pie they had to eat, all them years up under you, up under your bullshit. Now they want to get some payback, man. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Yeah, because now these nations not only have the finances and have the economic stability, they also have the military and the weapons where you can't puff at them like you used to. Then they have each other's backs. So you're in a world of trouble, man. And this is the Lord's doing, man. He's setting these nations up. Art thou become like unto us? Yeah, and you are become like unto them, because you're becoming weak. Because as your printing press keeps printing them dollars, and them stimulus checks keep going out, and the military spending keeps going out, and you know, you keep wasting these FRNs, the economic soup, so to speak, is becoming weaker and weaker. To where when hyperinflation sets in, then pretty much the dollar is finished. And you have many different instances in history of, you know, certain dollars of certain places going into hyperinflation, and those dollars no longer are worth anything. It's cheaper to burn it than to try to buy something with it. It says, thy pomp is brought down to the grave. So that pride that you have is being brought down, because you are proud, man. You are the most proud on the planet. And that pride of yours is what got you in the quagmire that you're in right now. And you're going to be brought down. It says, and the noise of thy vials, which is this lousy ass music that you push out. Because you Amalekites, man, you least of the flock, you least of the flockers, you know, you are the ones that's pushing this garbage music out here. Because you are the one that controls these different music industries. You're the one pushing this garbage music out here. You're the one pushing that agenda of the homosexuality and, you know, and that lewd lifestyle. You know, making our women, paying them so that they could do lewd shit on camera, so that they can make money, live good, so to push out to the other women of our nation how to become whores, how to become sluts, how to become immoral. The same thing with the men. So all that shit's gonna be brought down, man. And this is all a part of your witchcraft that the Lord is gonna smite down, and you're not gonna be able to push that anymore. It says the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. That's a representation of corrosion. You know, this corrosion, you know, that physically is destroying your kingdom, and spiritually. You know, because the worm, which is corrosion, is also a representation of how you run this government, and pretty much how you run the world, because you were supposed to be this beacon of light. And you notice all nations were following behind you at one time. This is the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and 1, or Ecclesiasticus 10 and 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. But you're not a prudent man. It says, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. That's why you see these corrupt politicians, because the international banking families are corrupt. It says, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. And that's why you see this immoral way. And the more wicked you are in this society, the higher up you go, up the ladder. The more righteous you are, the lower you go in this society. Just to let you know what vibration is ruling the earth. Wicked vibration. All right? It says, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. And you see that people are being destroyed because the people are mourning, because the wicked are in power. It says, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set up over it one that is profitable. Yeah, and that's what we're waiting for Yahushua to take his place back on the throne and set Israel back up into power. You know, Yasha'al, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and the Israelites, no matter where they are, no matter what they look like, back up on the planet Earth, and establish that righteous vibration once again. So it goes on to say, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? O you light bearers, you Illuminati, how have you fallen from that great pomp, lofty state that you were in? And you brought down to the ground. Now you got to beg for crumbs. Now you got to be a slave. You're going from having everything to having nothing. From being a slave master to being the slave. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did is weaken the nations? And there's no other nation on the planet that weakened the nations more than the so-called white man, which are the Edomites, according to the scriptures. Now let's finish out here in Revelation 17. And let's go to Revelation 17 and 11. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the eighth, which is America, and is of the seven, because it came out of those seven European, so-called European empires, and goeth into perdition, because the very reason why America was set up and established was to be destroyed. So from the inception of this place, that began the end of your world. Esau's the end of the world. And the 10 horns, which is the EU, today the European Union, back then the ECC, the European Economic EEC, European Economic Community. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And their hour is up. The hour is up. These have one mind. Why? Because they're going to come together. Because you see the establishment of the New World Order coming. But what's going to happen is the place where the New World Order was being established from, the allies of this place are going to turn against you. So it says, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, which is NATO, which they are also a part of NATO. So these NATO nations and these UN nations, I'm sorry, not UN, the NATO nations and the EU nations are going to come together and come against you, even though at one time they were your allies. It says, these shall make war with the Lamb, because they're going to try to fight against the Lord, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And now let me jump down to the 16th verse. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. See? Because America's proud, man. They're more stout than their fellows. And they're causing the world and even their own allies to just have a bad taste in their mouth because of America. It says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn it with fire. So those missiles that these European nations have, they're going to shoot over here and take you out, as well as other nations that have the missile. They're going to shoot it over here and take you out. because this is your judgment, man. This is the end of your world. This is the end of your existence. You fulfilled your mission. You accomplished your goal. You know, you have been weighed in the balance, and you have been found wanting. And now it's time for you to pay. It says, for the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, hath put in their hearts to fulfill His will. At the end of the day, it's about the fulfillment of the will of the Lord. It says, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, see, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And once the words of the Most High are fulfilled, and these nations shoot their missiles over here, and Yahushua comes with the chariots and shoots lasers and picks up his elect, that's it, man. It's over. The new world, the real new world, will be established, which is the world of Israel, beginning with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and Yasha Allah underneath, governing the whole world, being righteous, we being changed and the laws put into our inward parts, being the righteous judges of the earth that we're supposed to be, and establishing order once again on the planet, with all these different nations being in subjection to it. That's something, man. So that was, just wanted to make a point on that. All clues are pointing to America being Babylon the Great. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say Shalom.